So this is the art of creating a reflection. Because for a long time, it said that what is reflected in the mirror will be created in the world. And so mirrors have a long and ancient history, and they're relevant right now because you're watching me on one. This silver screen actually goes back quite some time into being the archetype that creates the unconsciousness. Now, in ancient Americas, in central Mexico, the chief god, the chief essence, but a better way to put it, is called Tezcatlipoca. Now, Tezcatlipoca, his name means smoking mirror. And it's quite an advanced concept. It means many things because in those times all the mirrors were black obsidian mirrors. And so what his name actually is getting at, though, is the quality of quantum physics. And the fact that as something is reflected, that this world is merely an image. And I mean, people that practice energy medicine, psychic surgery, people that change the unseen fields have known this. You know, it's said that this world is dreamed, and so this world is actually a reflection. Perhaps you've heard the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. You know, what is reflected is created. And so this archetype of understanding that this deity of the black mirror is actually the one that is creating the world because these are unconscious. So what is the unconscious? Well, when we have a pattern, or we have, let's say, we're doing anything like making a painting or a video, what happens is the contents of our unconscious, because it's not brought into light yet, it hasn't been manifest. So you have an idea, and then the filter through which it manifests, because let's say if you try to paint a horse, depending on if your unconsciousness or your consciousness, or your unconsciousness in this case has been trained to go to art school, be able to draw a horse, versus my ability where I didn't go to art school, our horses are going to come out completely differently. And this is the case with anything. But the unconscious is both, there's an individual one, and there's a collective one. And it's said by shamans that we exist in this reality because of agreements that we've made. And so part of the process of going and creating a new reality and reflecting this new reality so that it manifests before you is within yourself. You have this possibility of alchemy, but it needs to be intended for you to create it. And so as you go and you realize that as you dream this reality, it comes to you, it gives you the choice of actually taking the actions that are aligned with those dreams or not. It's actually going and developing the way that you respond, because that's how it said everything is processed. Is first we have this idea of a reflection that we have. But then we also have our shadow, our own unconscious. The ways in which we may be blind, you know, we may be blocking, we may be trying to reflect somebody that's financially successful, but our own shadow of scarcity may be blocking it. But what you do as you begin to shape your reflection is you imagine a possibility, because it's said there are many things about our shadow. One is that it contains all the possibilities that we can live, and that which possibility, which reality tunnel we move through is simply the way that our shadow is obscuring the other parts of the light of the reflection we want to create, which is our instincts, the parts of ourselves that are unhealed, the parts of ourselves that are like a child. It's said that our shadow has a childlike temperament. And so as we begin to change the way that we respond to things, this is actually the alchemy. But this is why being creative, right, creating anything, we hear this talk about the flow state. What is that? It's when the energy is flowing from the part of yourself that, you know, you want to create, which is in your shadow, but bringing it over to that reflection, having the image of that. So then you become impeccable. Now, this is a very important concept for Toltec sorcery and shamanism as well, is the idea of being impeccable. What is it? Well, it means going beyond the blocks that our subconsciousness puts at us, which is fear, laziness, and pain. So as you begin to shape your reflection, as you begin to transmit and reflect this possibility, I mean this both in the sense of actually doing this in your day-to-day life and reflections around you in your bathroom mirror when you wake up, in the water when you take a walk, but also in the sense of the digital reflection that you're watching me. Because believe it or not, I'm not standing in the same room as you. However, energetically, you brought yourself here as I'm reflecting these words and this energy into the beautiful waters of a park in Bangkok. But this reflection is something that you need to cultivate impeccably for it to really bring you whatever it is that you want to consciousness, this dream of yourself that you have. I call it my higher self. You can call it whatever you like. Your avatar, God, a deity, or even your own pattern refined to the highest degree. Whatever you call this energy, it's still going to be created in your being as you, and reflected in your being would be a better term, as you go and bring it out of yourself on camera. Because this black mirror that you're watching me on, whether it's a laptop or a computer or your mind's eye, perhaps, for the spirits, is you are channeling a reflection of my consciousness that I've embedded in the collective consciousness in order to alchemize certain things, in order to make clear how the internet is a manifestation of psychic phenomena, and that ascension is being created as we go and learn to interweave ourselves and transmit our intention, create our dream, using the methods that we have available. Part of the reason I believe that we're seeing this shift at this time is certainly due to the nature of technology, and you can see my other videos for that. But transmitting this reflection impeccably requires you go beyond the fear of being seen in a new possibility. Because when you start to post content, it can feel quite scary. You can feel that, oh, what happens? Maybe people will judge me. Maybe people will not want to see me in the same way that I'm used to seeing myself. Maybe they'll roast me or ask me questions. And there's the laziness, which is inevitable. And this comes in a lot of forms. It comes in the feeling of being too busy, of thinking, oh, I'm too tired. Because when you switch on the channel to your higher self, if you needed to, you could embody it right now. But it's this energy and idea that intention is actually a full part of ourself. It is the fundamental action. So intending includes all the energetic work we've been talking about, all the physical work that we've been talking about, and broadcasting your intention to create. And so as you do this, it's a natural function for you. You did a lot when you were kids. And if you see kids, they have energy and they go from highs and lows so fast. So what do we lose? We lost this fundamental ease of channeling the higher self, using the body's own creative abilities and biochemical abilities to energize ourselves. And so the final thing you're going to need to go through is pain. Now, this can be one of the most unique and perhaps most difficult to really surpass. Because when you start to create content, when you start to carve out anything in your life, it's said to give life to one thing is to give death to another. And so in that sense, there is the realization that if you want to create content effectively, you are going to need to sacrifice something. It could be something as minor as the time you would spend scrolling your phone. It could be as major as certain people that don't allow you to see yourself in the light that you want to be seen in your highest reflection. Because you are going to reflect what's around you. Simply being in Bangkok for the first time, well, for the second time now because I just got back, the energy of. And you have to remember that you are both the dream and the dreamer. So what you're experiencing is you. You are reflecting it just as much as you are experiencing your own perceptions and reality. But as to our magical self and to the subconscious, we want to change it. It really is the difference between imagination and reality. This is how we can see that the difference between imagination and reality, once we start to film things, well, it's hard to say at that point. Because what an editor imagines can be reality. What someone with a very good AI and video generator can be reality. There'll be more and more of those popping up now. But right now, we're in the perfect moment for us to realize a symbiotic ascension with technology, using it to broadcast the information of what does it mean to ascend? What does it mean to actually transcend our own capabilities? And as you transmit that in your reflection online, in your short form content, in your long form content, as you transmit that to your clients, and as you transmit that to the world in your being, what will happen is you will create this ripple effect where instead of going on one circle, just feeling stuck, you start to begin a spiral of creation, of upgrading your own reality in the world. This is going to create whatever shifts you want in your life. As you create more change can appear. And as you clarify the way you see yourself, that change can appear in the light and in the way that you wanted it to be, that you've been imagining. But it has to be on all the different levels. And elementally, this means dreaming it in your mind's eye, the fire, feeling it in your heart, the water, thinking it in your thoughts, and focusing on how to bring this to light, letting the downloads come, the air, and the actions, the earth. And so as you go through these planes, there's going to be a lot of shifts. But you have to remember to be impeccable and to not let fear, laziness, and pain stop you, because they will always come up, especially as you're about to shift your life. You have to be ready for these natural enemies. And you have to be intentional on seeing this possibility of yourself. And then choosing to be that not only in your daily life, but making it a consistent practice to reflect on screen. When I was studying with shamans, we would do 40 to 36 to 52 days of looking in a crystal mirror to see a possibility of ourselves. And now we're faced with the same task. To go and see that possibility of ourselves, my most creative, most powerful, most abundant, most healed, most loving, most aligned version of myself look like. And as you choose to embody that, you will find the clients coming to you. You'll find your social media popping up because you're finally being yourself. And that's really what this is. You have to undo the process of trying to be like everybody else that you've done and just choose yourself again and again for what is my unique expression? What is my piece of the puzzle? And then transmit that. And remember, it's not that hard. It's this easy. They're type easy in the comments if you made it to the end of this video and you absorbed this transmission. And if you want to work with me, go click the link down below and apply to work with me. Thank you.